I would still say it's probably better for. I think it's more interesting if a person reads it on their own rather than uh, like gets into it, or like rather than somebody reading it for them, like an audiobook kind of thing. Because also I just like there was a lot of points where I just went off on my own tangent. I felt like I kind of not ruined, but like interrupted the flow and the atmosphere of the game a little bit, and that wasn't like my intention necessarily, but it's just how I'm approaching my kind of style of recording these things for now. So I guess I'll say like, okay, regarding this video, regarding this recording, I'll start the video here with this. What do you call it? With this. I forgot what the word was. Pre-notice? What is the word? What's the word called? It's not a forewarning because that just sounds weirdly ominous. Preface. Yeah, it's called a preface. I completely forgot that word existed. Like, I'd encourage I'd encourage somebody to read something like this first on their own, and then maybe watch other people's read-alongs and thoughts and tangents, impressions afterwards. But honestly, maybe it doesn't matter that much. Up to you. I don't know. Up to you. Up to you. So yeah, I'm gonna make that note to put this section at the start of the recording instead, and then start off the recording as normal. Okay, I think the audio quality is decent in general for this game, or like I think my own voice and the game audio should be more or less okay with each other. So yeah, I guess to preface, there are probably going to be some suggestive parts in this game that I might edit out, and I personally do not feel like they're that suggestive, but I think some platforms might disagree. So I'll probably just edit those parts or sections. And yeah, okay. So before this story can begin, I must preface it by stating the following: that I am truly am myself as I'm writing this. On top of that, let's say that my gender and sexuality are well defined, and that I've felt comfortable in my own skin for as long as I can remember. Let's say this so that you won't be able to misinterpret the point of the story, saying that it's so important and brave. Putting this story into words is no more brave than the simplest acts of self-preservation, letting the maggots out of a wound. As you will be able to see, I write this to you as a purely selfish maneuver. These are the base truths that you must accept. I was about to say these are the Babe Ruths that you must accept for whatever reason, but anyway. Now, let's begin. Like, you know a visual novel or a read-along is going to be good when they hit you with a track that's like this. It almost sounds like a nursery rhyme kind of thing. Oh, this part goes crazy. Okay, I might have to lower the volume a little bit. I think that's fine. Since I moved to the city, I'm only very rarely inside a car. Which is whatever. Moving cars are nausea and music robbed of its baseline. The vertigo of landscapes subject to the repetitive strain of civilization. That kind of stuff. Stop cars are fine, honestly. Stop cars are intimacy and destruction of the self. Two of my favorite things, if you can believe it. A hiding place where misery can be stashed away safely. Anna called this car Grandpa's car. Her grandpa was long gone now, and it was mostly hers. I called it that too because the name felt endearing. The constant rain had cut the inside of this car from outside world. Anna was in the backseat with me, rubbing her hand over my leg with a very big horny smile on her face that I didn't see very often. I taunted her, knowing full well that she wouldn't stop. "What are you even doing?" She crawled over me, which I pretended to defend against timidly, then pulled her against myself. Her thigh was pressed right against my pussy, which felt really freaking good. She loves doing this too, thinking that she's teasing me, while I know I'm perfectly satisfied already, which is very funny to me. So, I like this visual novel in a lot of ways, or this read-along, and I only read this once before, read through it once, but it was years ago, but like it's starting to come back to me. And that is like a lot of stories will start via the premise of like two or more characters trying to develop a relationship, and then like the spicy scenes, for example, will follow or will like emerge many hours into the game at some point. Whereas this, it's like it's almost like the starting case, and then I feel like that opens up a lot of the writing so that it just doesn't have to focus so strictly or entirely on like the beginning parts of a developing relationship, because at this point I don't know if we need that much more stories on that kind of subject. And also, like I've seen this argued as the case before, which is that like it's simply because a lot of people don't know how to write stories or characters after they develop a relationship. In some ways I can kind of see why, because it's just like it doesn't feel like there's as much like the dynamics aren't as interesting maybe for most people. But no, I think like the after part of like a story where two or more characters finally like get together, and the dynamics that occur afterwards are probably like more important in some ways, because there's gonna be a lot they're gonna have to figure out, and a lot of ways they're just gonna have to like traverse things and figure things out and almost like maintain the relationship, because there's a lot that can go wrong at some point, I think. But yeah, anyway, I tried imitating her usual Mona speech while I held her. "Oh, we have a conventional sex enjoyer here, huh? Why don't you consider alternative modes of pleasure, Not everything has to be a replica of heterosexual reproductive order. Have you ever read Foucault or Preciado? I don't know who that is. Shut the flip up." We both laughed. Like many other losers, I'm always relying on being funny. Which I am, I swear. I continued to stare her down while I vibrated with pleasure. "The rain doesn't show signs of stopping. Let it go on for a little bit more, please." Ugh. The photography in this game is really stunning. I love this photo, especially because like today's raining as well, and whenever it rains, I mean, okay, I will say regarding the topic of rain, I do feel a little bit weird speaking about it sometimes, just because like I think it affects people differently. Like I think some people feel the effects of rain in a very direct way in terms of like housing crises or homelessness, and it could be very detrimental to their living space. But another part of me is like, yeah, it does makes for some very interesting photos as well, like the reflective sections of the asphalt reflecting or like casting the neon light of a city or like a sign or something is really compelling. Anyway, the venue was halfway full, people cloaked in dim lighting and fog machine smoke. It was my first time seeing the band, but I had been sort of captivated with their work for a while, so I was pretty excited. It caught me in a moment where I felt it spoke to me somewhat deeply. The rest of the crowd didn't really match my energy that night. It's not that they didn't enjoy it, but it certainly feels less special, more of an everyday thing to them. That is kind of weird. Like, I do feel like some people visit venues more so for, like, I don't know what you call it, like the clout, being able to say you went to the show of something. Or like, oh, I visited this show, I visited that show. Whereas I do feel like some people are just a little bit more like naive in a certain way, where they're very much connecting with the intensity of the music and the performance and the energy of the venue. But yeah, as if they were thinking, this is what my world is like, and had to be a little bit more reserved with what they get excited or passionate about. Yeah, I think that's kind of what, like, echoing my sentiment as well. It's like it's such a sense of nonchalantness for some people. Like, oh, this performance is whatever. It's like a normal Thursday for me. Anyway, I probably didn't appear as a very discerning person to them. Not that I would care, of course. I did care about one though. Anna was leaning against the wall next to me. We were having one of our usual conversations while a long-winded, quiet, muddy intro played. Well, I guess he just became kind of obsessed with old folk tales, like many young men with curiosity and a bit of an identity crisis. Nothing weird with that. I don't know, this is probably wrong to say, but I really dislike his attitude. It's not weird, it's just cliche, you know? Just such a 20-something guy thing to do, to drape yourself with stuff you've never had any real belonging to. Really, it makes me roll my eyes. Just no self-awareness. Don't be so hard on him. It's like regular stuff for an artist anyway. Different environments and stuff. Still what? The art world just sucks, and he's kind of becoming not an exception. Jeez, looks like it's not like they're gonna make any real money off of this stuff. I mean, just listen, it's so freaking contrarian, so unmarketable. Half of the people in here don't even like it. I think, like, even if it's a bit cliche, him turning in a direction that feels somewhat hopeful and not just pure vitriol is an interesting development. This might be the strat, where it's like you just make like purposefully unmarketable stuff, but then at some point it also might become cool again. So I don't know. I don't know, girl. Hopeful makes me gag, to be honest. This stuff's just narcissism, just real insular, never take anyone else seriously level stuff. They might also have a point there. Well, maybe that wasn't the right word, but I thought transcendental would make you straight up puke. Well, I can kind of see that at least, but still. Plus, aren't you being kind of insular and dismissive yourself? Listening to the side bands of people who work nice jobs at TV studios, who read Hollebeck? I'm not sure what that is. Hollebeck, and write songs about heterosexual ennui, with fans like you pretending it's liberatory and radical and very transgressive high art just because they aren't explicitly hitting anything on the red flag checklist. This person is like so. These people are like so annoying, like unbelievably annoying. And they are, in a way, like a reflection of how I feel about things sometimes, which is like, I think especially when it comes to like cultural attitudes and cultural movements and things, there is such an impulse to try to like hit checkboxes of certain attitudes and things like that, and it can be very difficult because they're usually shifting in a very, very like dynamic way as well. So like one attitude a person can have about a particular movement or whatever can definitely like change in the very next moment, or like the way it's presented to, the way it's like uh the sort of like ornament around it too plays a large factor in how things are interpreted in this sort of field, I think. And it's just like almost anything a person can say can be picked apart and like almost used out of context in a way, or within like different contexts. And I think this is probably deeply uncomfortable to a lot of people, but this is the kind of environment that some people also probably thrive in as well. And yeah, give me a break, girl. At least they're not adult teenage show-offs. Well, I don't know. I feel like in this environment, wanting to make people hate you isn't that bad of an impulse. Like, this is definitely the product of like two overly analytical like lesbian queer types that have just like considered every possible social faux pas, or like considered every angle of like interaction or social dynamics in a given, like in a specific sort of cultural movement or like context, and they're just like letting everything out. I think this like section in particular, this back and forth, is very much like the earlier section regarding like letting all the maggots out of the wound. And let me see if I can find it. Also, I'm gonna stop recording here just to like check the audio if it's okay. Okay, so like my hotkey for recording and stopping the recording happens to be like the hotkey for like skip text in this game, so I accidentally like skipped further. So I'm just gonna like restart really quick and go through it. I think the audio level is okay. I might have to increase it or decrease it like a little bit, or maybe increase the ambience, lower the music a little bit, like that. Okay, that's too loud. Like here. Wait, am I recording? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I last left off at the section where the two were talking. They were having a dialogue about sort of like cultural attitudes regarding like a certain artist or performance. And yeah, they're like considering all angles here. They're almost like playing the role of a lot of different types of commenters on like a forum, for example. I feel like it's like this section right here I enjoy a lot, because it is like the back and forth between, I think, the two main characters, but it almost feels like they've probably been so inoculated in like forum or image board culture, where like it just considers, like they try to consider like so many different angles to any given argument. And it's kind of fun in that way for some people, I think. Okay. Something red flag. Okay, I think this is where I left off. Well, I don't know. I feel like in this environment, wanting to make people hate you isn't that bad of an impulse. Our conversation continued like this for a while. She's always sort of enjoyed splitting hairs about things like music or aesthetic tastes. Also, like, on one hand, I do think this is kind of annoying, for sure. Just be like, okay, just enjoy the thing. Like, you don't have to overly think about it too much. But on the other hand, like, I think this is a very valuable part of an arts community, like any arts community, and to artists, like artists between artists, in a way, where yeah, they are sort of like throwing shade at each other in a way, but it helps. It helps sort of develop direction and styles, and in some ways it also is a very productive force, I feel like, where it will continually have artists second guess themselves to like make things and go into interesting directions maybe. And I mean, it could be very destructive too, for sure. Like, I think some people can get very, very impacted by this kind of thing. And yeah, it's nothing to take too lightly, in my opinion. Um, yeah, there's a lot of like energy, a lot of like charge and energy in this sort of field. But anyway, at first I was instinctively trying to justify myself, but lately I just counter with some ridiculous dunk because it's more fun, and moves the conversation away from pointless psychoanalysis through some kind of mutually assured embarrassment effect. Long rain on the world, like a foggy sleep. The body's print on the mud fades. Lakes flattened, villages covered by smooth hills. They will make roads on them again. And the song of the flute, the faceless flute. The shepherd's cave, my first love, I will return to you when there's nothing of me. The print on the mud that's gone, the water of the lake that's elsewhere, the buried village. I did honestly enjoy the concert. Most music enjoyers would probably say it needs a bunch more work, that it doesn't feel well rehearsed or something. I think it was fine. Precision and fine work isn't their thing anyway. It's more about the attitude. What? Like glam rock? I can hear her voice in my head. Not really. Glam rock tends to be a bit technical as well. This happens pretty often lately. I feel the obligation to engage with some argumentative voice in my head. I say it to myself all the time. I don't have to explain myself. But her attitude certainly does not help with that instinct. The inner monologue goes crazy sometimes. The air outside is cold, but lively. There's about 24 people hanging outside the venue, huddled together in a tapestry of patched up trench coats. I don't really fit in with any of these groups, but it's usually easy and pleasant enough to get into whatever conversation Anna wants to drag me into. These two punk rock looking guys were talking about creepypasta and other internet stuff. As an internet idiot, I couldn't help but listen intently. Even when it's mostly surface level stuff, it's always interesting to see how other people perceive. I feel like any two people that are like terminally online, and or any like groups of terminally online people in like an outside setting, if like one person is talking about like online stuff and another person happens to overhear, their like immediate impulse would probably be like, oh, I bet I'm more terminally online than you or something, or I know this particular internet iceberg containing this very specific niche like subcultural thing that you would never understand or get. Or I mean, it's like, I don't know. Anyway, there's a bunch of them that are like really unbelievable or whatever, but the writing is so dumb and raw. They kind of have a certain appeal to me. Yeah, like nobody's reading this stuff to like really believe in a world made of dog meat or whatever. But I get what you mean. I love it when they have like shit like dumb low resolution photo camera photos. Like there's a whole aesthetic thing where you can expect all photos to be kind of dumb, but it actually makes it less believable because nobody's going around with flip phones in the real world to take photos of like shadow entities or whatever. This kind of coincides with like some parts of, or like this sort of constant revival of like the 360 240p like home recording face the camera monologue about like any given topic kind of revival thing. I mean, it happens in waves, but They all laugh, and I laughed with them. That is kind of funny, I will say. I remembered a really good story I had related to this stuff, but I always feel uncomfortable sharing stuff. Even if it isn't something personal, I feel like everything is going to drift into my own context that I will have to explain myself about. Yeah, yeah, this is so accurate. It's like, I'll just say something, like in a conversation, someone will say something out of pocket, and then like I feel like I'll have to like explain myself further, and then it would just keep going in this like thing where I have, it's like a hyperlex, like a hypertext link kind of thing where it just keeps getting like progressively more confusing the more somebody asks me about something. So I definitely like understand the sentiment. Plus, these guys probably don't even like me, so I didn't say anything. Oh, that could also be the case a lot of times. Later into the night, we barely made it to the last. Why does this look like the cup you'd find from a 90s/early 2000s like fast food restaurant? I forgot what those were called. Anyway, we barely made it to the last train home. The one that's always almost empty because everyone's heading downtown and not towards the dumb periphery. Anna didn't forget. So, what were you thinking about back there? I'm curious. What do you mean? Oh, you always get that look in your face. It's kind of cute. When something is like too surface level for you, your mind goes away and you don't bother explaining. Ha ha ha. Oh, that? Well, I was thinking about something that's been going on in this forum I post on sometimes. There's someone who posts like weird silly pictures without context. Everyone ignores it. I think it's just someone making their creepypasta art project or whatever. Personally, I don't know what to make of it. Huh, so what are the pictures of? I can show it to you tomorrow if you're coming over. Sure. Anna got off at her stop. I still had a while to go, so I did my best not to doze off. I put on my 90s kid earphones to listen to something that wasn't the train's endless drone. It was a silly weather afternoon, not much of a reason to leave the apartment. The convertible sofa was extended into bed shape, flipping up my tiny living room's arrangement. We were both looking at my silly little things on my computer. So we have this board where you can post like drafts or whatever garbage you need to preview or store somewhere. It all gets deleted every Friday at midnight, but actually since we have so much unused storage space from our hosts, it's just hit. Okay, honestly, this is a pretty decent idea. I'm gonna make note of this. It's such a simple thing, but yeah, because okay, I think a lot of the times, I'm not sure if this is the case necessarily, but a lot of times there will be like too much pressure to post like finished works of progress of things, or it will be like things that are too pertained or contained to like a very specific subject area or whatever. But having like a section where like a contained enough amount of people can just post whatever they want, and it also happens to like get deleted after a while for storage space purposes. I think that's interesting. Also because like it can, like the works can sort of like influence, like you can derive like influence or inspiration from other people's posts and stuff. I guess this is just like almost kind of like Twitter in a way, or like certain social media websites that follow this format, like Twitter, Blue Sky. I don't think Instagram. I don't think YouTube or TikTok as much. But I think the problem with something like Twitter or Blue Sky, for example, is that it could reach a point for some posters where they just like... Okay, should I get into this now? Or should I just continue with the game? Because I feel like I'm getting too sidetracked already. And I don't want to like detract from the atmosphere of the game. So I'll just make a comment here. something to say maybe later about like parallel play stuff on some social media websites, and then I'll leave it there for now. Okay, I don't want to interrupt the game so much because I think it's getting a little bit annoying. So, okay, how are you seeing it then? Well, I'm a moderator in this forum, so I have access to that. Wow, really? Didn't know this side of you. What do you mean? Well, you're always talking about how antisocial you are, so I didn't think of you as the community type. I think it's cool though. I feel like it's more motivated by my interests. I've been posting on this old video game forum for so long that I'm familiar with pretty much everyone, so it's pretty manageable. It's like when you're antisocial but you have like a specific enough interest that you can connect with others online via that very specific interest, and then you become like hyper social in that context. But like in an everyday context, it's just like you're just kind of spurging out a little bit. I don't know. Do you get a lot of weirdos? Not really, since there's very few new users. Sometimes someone wanders in, does something bad, they get banned. But it's chilled for the most part. Didn't know video game forums were chill. I always thought they were a huge cesspit. I mean, some of them are. Anna looked at the screen blankly. I guess she seemed surprised to see me talk about something in a way that wasn't insecure or apologetic. Having found a dead end in her poking around, she continued. So what are these posts like? I clicked around the hidden posts and opened a bunch of them, all made under the username 32xlad. They were all single posts containing an image. The image was generally a photo of broken infrastructure, presumably taken in the night or in dark places. Cut power lines, broken or leaking pipes, sometimes flooded basements. Sometimes they were so dark that it was hard to see anything unless you messed around with an image editor. The picture had a sort of utilitarian aspect to them that made them all the more unsettling. There was nothing you could call artistic about their composition, colors, or whatever. Like any good creepypasta, the applied but elusive context is what made it interesting. As we were looking at the pictures, trying to discern some sort of clue, Anna focused on one of them. I had been opening them on an image editor, mostly to increase the contrast and check the EXIF data for any hints. Oh, I think I know where this is. Really? Yeah, it's near my place. It's just one of those structures on the river. I think it's next to a maintenance building or whatever. Wow. Want to go check it out? I paused for a moment. There was something that felt equal parts ominous and embarrassing about giving this more attention. But on the other hand, I was curious. Maybe we will learn something tonight. Something special that only the two of us know. It is sort of alluring. Like how? Oh, like now? Sure, let's go. We got on the train. It will be almost evening by the time we get there, so it's not dark enough to make me scared for real. The endless drone of the train makes me feel connected to yesterday in a weird way, like I'm riding towards the same ultimate purpose as I did last night. Whatever that means. We descended a set of narrow stairs along the concrete wall that surrounds the river on both sides, towards the crest of a small dam. The dam was integrated with an old, I think, Roman bridge that was already on the river, making it probably completely unique. This was the location of the picture, no doubt. In it, one of the sluices gates were completely torn off, as if it had been blown away somehow. Ooh. Oh yeah, that is it. What is this? This doesn't... this is an interesting image because it does look like a bridge, but it also does look like some part of like a ship or something, like a naval ship or I don't know. It looks very weird. I think it is partially because it is like part of me recognizes that it does have that like sort of utilitarian aspect to it, as mentioned earlier, but part of it is because the form has like an aesthetic feel to it as well, or like an ornamental feel that like the function of it doesn't feel as immediately recognizable, so it's in this like strange area. Also, this just kind of looks like somebody's thumb or finger or whatever. Anyway, but it seemed like it had been fixed. The sluice gate was intact. What was the date of this picture again? This was from yesterday. Really? It's consistent with the EXIF data too. Weird. The massive hole in the photograph looked like it would certainly take more than one day to fix. And the water levels was very low these days, so it wouldn't have been a high priority. I guess the EXIF data might have been modified. It seemed like a lot of effort for a post that was going to be deleted the next day, though. Do you remember this being broken at some point? Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe it's a really high effort Photoshop. Maybe. It looks so real, though. Yeah. We looked around for a bit. If this was someone's little game, I doubt they could resist the urge to leave some kind of clue or follow-up of some sort. But we really didn't find anything. Kind of a bust, huh? Well, whatever. I think it's a good idea that they're exploring together. It also makes it more fun, too. I was hoping this would be the end of it. Some mystery freak I wouldn't have to think about much anymore. Mystery freaks. Those mystery freaks. But when we got back home, another picture immediately dropped. The timestamp on the image data was barely 5 minutes ago. Oh, I could already see it in Anna's face. Shoot, I know where this one is too. Are you kidding me? So this guy's like your neighbor or something? These are the only two I can kind of recognize, but it could be. Do you mind if we go out again? I don't think I can wait. I was hoping we could chill for a bit, but sure, let's go. Anna was unusually indulgent with me today. Did anything happen? Anyway, we got back on the train. It was dark out by now. This is a really cool photo. This was a picture of a large pipe in the back of a gas station. It had a huge chunk missing, and it seemed to be leaking water. I don't know how someone could recognize the location of this picture at all. She's a local though, so I found it at least plausible. This is a very specific type of like city infrastructure autism, where you just happen to take note of the most random things. When we arrived, as expected, the pipe was already fixed. I guess this guy's really good at photo editing. I guess for this character, it is more so like she's just very familiar with things that kind of like stick out a little bit, but not in like a very pronounced way in her like local environment. Like I think this person's like almost similar to the artist at the venue she was listening to. She like targets or locates specific things or happenstances or people in the environment that are at a very particular state of like sticking out a little bit from the environment, but not to such an extent where it's like overblown, kind of like glam rock or whatever they were talking about. So it would be things like a musical band or artist that has like a sort of raw energy to it, but it's not like so good in a way that they're they qualify for more of a mainstream audience, and it's not so bad in a way that it's like there's no audience whatsoever. And it also tends to generate like a lot of like mundane back and forth comments about the act itself. And also similarly with this like pipe on the side of a building, for example, like it is nothing, it's not like a highway that's been like completely bulldozed, or it's not like a house that's been overrun by a mudslide, as mentioned earlier in like a prior passage. So like the infrastructure, there's no like immediate and absurd, there's not like an absurd level of damage. It's like to a damage to, it's like at a very specific point or state of damage where it's noticeable enough to the character, but probably not noticeable enough to most people passing by. And yeah, I think that's part of what's happening here, and I think there's more to it as well, but that's like my initial kind of read on the situation. Hold on, there's something else. Next to the pipe, there was a very small graffiti. It was clearly not in the photograph. Maybe a clue? Finally, I approached it to read it better. It made my blood freeze. It was a very regular handwriting, almost unfitting for graffiti, written in red. 4 years ago, you cut off your left hand. Why? 4 years ago? It's gotta be. It's true. I don't know why. I can't explain to you. I can't explain this to you. I need to do something. Oh. As a warning, there will be missing parts to this story. I won't keep the juicy, morbid details from you, so rest easy. I kind of like how this is like an implied sort of, like this photograph or this room is like an implied like step back, or it's almost like a behind the curtains kind of scene, like very literally. But it's not done in a way that's just so immediately like in your face, or I mean it is kind of in your face, but anyway. But there are things I simply cannot explain. 4 years ago, I cut off my own left hand. When you read the rest of the story, I hope you will be able to piece together what happened. I don't think I'll be. I'm like honestly, I can read into very specific things in a visual novel or like a read along kind of game. But if there's like some overarching grand kind of like mystery to solve, it just completely goes over my head in most cases. Anyway, someone once told me about some themes presented in The Selfish Gene by notorious sillyhead Richard Dawkins, which in turn repeat the less interesting ideas from older texts by Hobbes and others, dressing them in scientific flavored coding. Dawkins essentially frames all behavior as emerging from competition between genes. Thus, solidarity, friendship, sacrifice are simply sophisticated forms of suborganic self-interest brought forth by natural selection. Even though I now think it's just boring, I found this idea sort of repulsive at the time. They asked me, why are you so hung up on the causes? You're trapped in a cage of consequence anyway. To this day, I don't have an answer to that. This story is sort of like that. At the moment, I am unable to break out of the cage. You must be asking yourself, how could I be such a fool? How can this chronicle of what's plausibly in front of me be so broken and dubious? The obvious answer is that truth is sometimes not easy to discern from a first-person perspective. Also, you are welcome to try to find inconsistencies and holes in my story. That is, after all, the point. This is a game between the both of us. I need you to piece together something we can call the truth. If you think I'm lying, call my bluff. If I'm doing so, it's for the best benefit of both of us. But I need some work from you too. I think they're in for some disappointment. Like, I struggle with mysteries, like piecing things together in a very coherent way, sometimes. Anyway. What is true belief? Is it cultural validation? What makes it? Is true faith necessarily tied to social norms and customs? Or is it simply sincere physical observation? I'm almost tempted to save this image and do the sort of EXIF data, whatever they were talking about, but I don't even know what that is. Or you can use maybe the paint bucket tool, but I don't think that works very well on gradients or images with gradients, like smooth gradients. So we are not true observers of the world. Our eyes are clouded by countless whispers, by love and longing and mistrust. However, there is a reason why prophets are often burned. I don't remember well when Anna and I started having Gex. You could say it was so gradual, I didn't even notice, like most things with her. Even though I'd say we had a really close relationship, it was underpinned by a sort of constant vigilance, each of us keeping the other in check. Like in chess, a small blunder can eventually lead to the irreversible opening of a weak point. Things like dramatic confessions, sudden changes of hearts, that sort of stuff that just never happened with her. It's like when you get two lesbians that are so autistic, their hyperfixation happens to be social dynamics and human behavior, and when you pair them together, it's I feel like almost every interaction just becomes this extremely convoluted and analytical dance or something. And I think that is essentially what they're describing. Anyway, my left hand was gone. I was trying to keep my left arm as far from her as I could, making myself a little uncomfortable in the process. She's on top of me, as usual. I focus on her breathing, her pulse. It feels good. As long as I'm tethered to her, nothing really bad will happen. I won't disappear into a blob of nothing. This sounds like an insanely stupid affirmation. Very pathetic, but oh well. We work with what we've got. Oh. What is this? Is this within a rabbit hole or whatever? This guy from the band, he used to be a big time science guy. Not big time as in important, but as in fervent. I don't think he's much of a science guy anymore, frankly, but maybe he is. I'm not sure. He never talks about work, but I mean, you have to eat, right? He's always saying this thing about gravity and quantum mechanics being in conflict, but also simultaneous evidence of the existence of God as a higher dimensional being. I think the argument goes like this. Gravity is so transparently mathematical, so simple in its formulation that it must have been created by some impulse other than the white noise of existence. At the same time, quantum mechanics introduce a fundamental unreadable component to the fabric of the world. Many people, including Einstein, took this to be conflicting with God's boundless foresight. After all, if every outcome is random, how could God possibly create a world in his own image? This guy's interpretation is that random outcomes is a misnomer. What we do know is that these outcomes are simply unpredictable and read-only for beings like us, experiencing time in a linear fashion. They need to check off the hidden computer file option on their file explorer or whatever. For God, they might be a vessel of its will, the true testament, inscribed in every particle, interaction, every state transition, the punch card to describe all of time. Vishnu dreaming the universe into being. Quantum events are effects exclusive to each other, with no physical cause to choose one possibility over the other. So you either believe in true foresight or believe in effects without causes. God's preferred point of view might even be the current moment. Its will a ripple that propagates forward and backwards in time, synthesizing the past and future at the same time. Yeah, maybe. I immediately found this idea very interesting, although by the way he talked about it, it seemed like it was more of a secondary musing that had come to his mind as he talked to me. I feel like this scientist's secondary musings are probably more on point than their primary research, but I could be wrong. Anyway, pretty insane, right? I like this guy. He's fun to talk to, even if he rambles too much about random stuff like this. But he's very respectful, if a little distant personally. I think it would be impossible to have actual beef with this guy, even for Anna. He's just like so hyper fixated on like equations and shapes and stuff. Like how could you have beef with somebody like that? Okay, we set up shop in an unused room at the Institute. It used to be the main server room where all the big computers and the printers would screech all day long. Later, it got turned into a small laboratory. For the most part, the room was abandoned. Only a couple of cardboard boxes and useless objects. Nobody could find a better place for remained. The centerpiece of our work, an old paper guillotine was still here. Anna was hard at work on the contraption, her expression blank, her forehead bright with sweat. I have no idea why she would help me with this, but this really did seem like she would follow through until the very end. By evening, the room was warm and the air thick. As predicted, nobody had come over to check on the room when they closed off the Institute for the day. Anna had sharpened the guillotine with a whetstone and put additional weight on it. She knows how to do all this stuff. The old mechanism was replaced by a powerful metal spring, connected to a lever that would trigger it after a short delay. This was done so that I wouldn't have time to move at all when the blade fell. She was standing in the corner. I walked up to her and held her tight. She didn't hold me back, but she did use her wiggle room to press her face against mine. She was crying. I guess there's no other way, huh? I wish there was. Thank you. I know it's not going away. It's not going away until you do it, so just... She broke into tears again. By the way, I feel like this is the dynamic between Eurytron 666 and Lesbian from Job Hunting 9000. Like this is... Because there's a line in that game, in the cafe, where they were talking, or Eurytron was like, do you want to know my true feelings about stuff? Like, I want us to engage in hot, sloppy make-out sessions or whatever, and then do like a double suicide by the end of it or whatever. And then Lesbian was like, that's really hot. And so I feel like that their side story would be something like this, in my opinion, where they're just going through like wacky science experiments and also attending like weird art venues and like doing miscellaneous urban exploration on the side as well. Yeah, anyway, she broke into tears again. I did too. I put my hand in the cuff that Anna had screwed onto the table. It fit perfectly. My face was reflected on a dusty mirror resting across the room. I wasn't in fear of the moment. where I'd pull the lever, since it would merely be a test of what I already knew. Suddenly, she approached from my right side and sat on my legs, straddling me. She kissed me and bit me in the neck. Is this the time for this? Maybe this is the only time for this. I ran my other hand across her back. Anna, I don't know if you'll see me again, dear. I think this might be my breaking point. I nodded. What else could I say at this point, of course? Please don't go. Too pathetic, even for me, at this point. She put her hand under my shirt. Her touch felt so nice and soothing, still couldn't break my sense of purpose at the time. Let's go home. I would have thought in a different world, but there's no home to go back to. I let her do what she wanted me. I enjoyed it immensely, but I didn't move. Anna was standing in the corner again. It was dark outside by now. I fixed my eyes on the mirror. This is like the hero's journey moment, but like accelerated to such an extent. Like they had their Gex moment before the climactic portion of the hero's story or whatever. But like the final battle in this scenario is just like a paper guillotine against a hand, which is kind of weird, but also kind of neat. I pulled the lever. A tinge of panic. Sometimes you can only glimpse the truth when everything's disappearing. Was it really? I quickly looked for Anna. She's not there. What the frick is going on? In the corner where she was supposed to be standing, there's a huge black stain. Where is she? Anna? Please, I need you now. A loud thud, and then I feel dizzy. The stab of pain almost gone before I could perceive it. But then the burning wound. Flip. Where the flip is Anna? I'm gonna bleed out. I didn't think this would... No. Help. What? You're so stupid. You were always so stupid. So this is why you haven't made any progress. You will be always trapped. I can say anything and unsay it. I can weave new cages around you, imprison you until you rot away, until you maim yourself and bleed out, like you just did. You're a disgrace. You're still here. You're still here. This voice. This... No. Where? Don't you know me? You know me as far back as you can remember. My thoughts drift off. I feel myself disappearing into a black pool of blood where I see a bright room at evening full of people. It's a university party I was at once. I don't think it was a particularly memorable experience, but it's somehow stuck in my head. Is this really the last image in my mind before I die? This looks like it's coming out of a dumb porno video. Pathetic, come on. Give me something better. I fade out. Let the archangels take me, I guess. Extension of the window? Well, the colors here are very cool, or very neat. It's like indigo slash orange kind of. Anyway, I'm at a party at the apartment of one of my classmates from university. Even though it's already October, the air feels summery still. I was a shy girl, so I don't remember talking to people much at all. People would talk to me about how it's been a while. It's been a while since they last saw me. How are things back at home? That sort of stuff. The sun goes down, the last rays of red hitting the back walls like a Terminator? Oh, okay, I think Terminator used in this context is like um, like the dividing portion between like a shadow and the sunlight or something like that. Because I remember seeing that term used in like a drawing tutorial, for example. So I think something like this, like here, this edge might be considered a terminator, or here maybe, or there. Um, it's like points where light and kind of like shadow sort of um, are a little bit more like apparent in their like you can sort of see each section a little bit more easily, maybe. I think something like that. Anyway, everything's still lively. What kind of music was playing? Probably the kind average university age girls enjoy. See, this was around 2016. What was on the charts at the time? Flip. I don't know. Even though I don't think I had heard my mother cry before, I instantly recognized her on the phone. This was a new number. She must be far from the house. I wonder where. Ugh. Archaeology is so soothing because it's such a rare comfort when thinking about the past. There's so much little you can pull from the past and hope it coalesces into a physical object. It's always some crude image of two guys stabbing each other with spears, a rock that we want to cling to, that we hope will be confirmed to be the entirety of the world when the ocean dries out, and we really know everything for sure. That there was this, only this. In reality, the past is full of unseen animals and cacophonies of dissonant bells and laughing stuff, devils, gates and holes through which an overabundance of spirits, time, distance, light, miracles, humanity, pure quintessence flows in and out. A melting, dark dream of stairs and trapdoors. A place where God's abandonment of the present comes into quiescent light? Quiescent light? You laughed at this, I remember. I mean, so what? The age of reason is a comically desperate struggle to destroy the world so that nothing is left to explain, right? Can we just work backwards from its material consequences? Trust the chemicals in your brain to tell you they are chemicals. Use inductive reasoning to arrive at an abject, lacunar voice of darkness. Again, hopeless. There should be a tech startup that promises to destroy your soul after you die. Just completely flip up every known and unknown quantum field around your body to ensure there's no secret light, left regardless of belief system. But this is not what I want. My wishes are humble. So what if there's unrest? What if there's struggle? I only wish for a transient repose, a small hole of clarity in the block universe. I was confused. I tried to believe in unchanging truth, in a universe of dust. Like you've always taught me, I must now close my eyes and see. You've trapped me, yes. You've mangled my soul with this illusory eternity. But I refuse. I cut away the curtains of this palace. In a pool of my own blood, I see the house. Yeah, this character is like going through it right now. Or is going through it currently. Oh. The house is a small, old cottage in the mountains near a river. At the time it was built, it probably gave off the impression of a slightly ostentatious nouveau riche kind of thing, but the decay of the years have made it feel austere and solemn by now. It is approximately 6 kilometers from the town, so that makes it roughly a 20-minute drive to work, if you work in town. You can probably hear the leaves rustling and the almost dry steam drip along the riverbed. This is important because it connects the inside of the house to the outside. So we can consider that anything that happens in this house also happens in the mountains near a river, approximately 6 kilometers from town. Wait, hold on. I need to reread this passage again. You can probably hear the leaves rustling and the almost dry steam drip along the riverbed. This is important because it connects the inside of the house to the outside. So we can consider that anything that happens in the house also happens in the mountains, near a river approximately 6 kilometers from the town. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of an aneurysm trying to like parse this, but I think what they're trying to say is like maybe the pipes of this home, like the liquids somehow interact or drain into the nearby river on this mountain, and then so like whatever liquids happen in this house also like appear downstream in the town as well at some point, like in the town river is my guess at what this is trying to say. This is not the house where I live now, but I certainly have lived in it. The worst part of the house for the purposes of this story is that it has a basement. The basement is locked most of the time. Whenever the basement opens, it becomes impossible to tell what happened and didn't happen. The basement has 2 entrances. One of them is inside the house, down a set of narrow stairs covered in old grimy carpet. The other is outside the house on the back side. If you left the basement through this entrance, you could capture a glimpse of the side profile of the statue in the courtyard through an overgrown hedge. I think this is the mystery portion of this game that it wants you to solve, and I'm already like kind of checked out a little bit, like, oh, there's so much to keep track of. Okay, anyway. There's no real path behind the house, but you can plausibly walk downhill and reach a side road that nobody ever uses. It must connect to the main road somewhere because you can hear cars drive on it every once in a while. The basement is connected to the phrase, 4 years ago you cut off your left hand, but I don't know how. The only way to discern the truth is to close my eyes and see. I also feel like for whatever reason this story draws on a lot of like folktale elements from certain cultures in the past, and maybe it's like a sort of, not replication, but like an embodiment of those things or those scenarios as well. I'm not entirely sure what I meant by that, but anyway. I'm at a party at the university of one of my classmates from I'm at a party at the apartment of one of my classmates from university. Even though it's already October, the air feels summery still. I don't have a car, so it was tricky getting... So I think this game is set in autumn, which is kind of interesting because I'm playing this game currently and it's like the beginning of spring almost, pretty much, so... Anyway. How did I get back home? See, it's hard. Archaeology. I have some pictures of these people. If I didn't, this would be so easy to dismiss. If you get caught up in a past moment, if you think about the specifics too much, it can be impossible to regress to the present. It's impossible for the present moment to follow from the past moment. Therefore, the present must not be real. A falsehood disappears retroactively. It's so simple. I can't believe I missed it. And you just taught me the way. Watch this. I will uncover you. Oh, I think this is maybe like an inversion or like a color shift of like that earlier like red sort of gradients image. Anyway, I open my eyes. My gaze sinks deeper and deeper in the swirling blood. I travel backwards, passing through a field of rippling stars. Faster into a remote darkness, and then... Oh, footsteps on the floorboard above. In the darkness of the basement, I try to get up. Stumbling around. Confused, I feel a sharp pang. I just stepped on a nail with my left foot. It hurts. Blood coming out. But I can't see. I collapse. Hours pass. Nobody comes. No, somebody comes. A hit. And then another. And then another. And then another. I wake up, Still dark, but the nail is gone. However, it will leave a scar. 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 Don't do it. It will leave a scar. I'm at a party at the apartment of one of my classmates from university. Even though it's already October, the air feels summery still. I'm wearing sandals. I excuse myself to the bathroom. I take off my left sandal. There's no scar. I have no use for this world. Die. I'm at the summer festival. There's a bunch of stalls near the faculty building. It's around evening. I remember something important. I sit on a bench and take out my shoes. There's no scar. Disappear. It's dark and hot. I'm staying at Anna's place tonight. I made a stupid scene at the club because everyone had been taking Molly without telling me. I'm scared about you. What a strange thing for her to say. But I get it. I get it now. I'm scared too. Anna's body feels warm against mine, but I could stay like this for a while. Maybe the stillness of the night. Maybe some breeze will make me stop sweating. Stop sweating. I'm so scared. I bend my leg. I reach with my hand. Please. The scar is there. Thank God. I got you now. So maybe the scar is only there when she's when Anna happens to be around, maybe. Grandpa's car trudges through the dirt path. I'm at the wheel alone. Headlights off. It's only the moonlight out here, but somehow I'm able to traverse these paths in the dark just fine. I see the bottom of the hill behind the house. The statue can see me if I go through the front, so I have to be careful. I drive past the house for a minute, brushing against the overgrown trees. Just the noise of a passing car. Oh, I like the soundtrack. I stop at a nook in the road and get off the car. The path is quiet and desolate. I walk towards the house, winding between the oak fields that always felt like such vast deserts between me and my neighbors. Hope the audio isn't too loud. I finally spot the bottom of the hill again. Along the climb, I spot a couple watermelon carcasses lying on the ground. The trees have been trimmed recently. It's hard to imagine this path still has any purpose now that I'm gone. Maybe I'll just caption this video as breakcore or something. Anyway, the lights are all off. I'm behind the hedge, unseen by the statue. To my right, I can see the entrance to the basement. I remember not having a lock, even though it could be barred from the outside. A moment of darkness. It feels so much longer than the width of the hedge. The wind stops. I take a deep breath. I lunge forwards. The statue's neck shrinks under my grip. Slivers of bronze breaking off under the shear. Head burning with rage and despair, even more violently than usual. Stop. No. Stop. It will leave a scar. No. Stop. It will leave a scar. 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 With the unstrained strength of someone unseen and unseeing, I close my eyes and press harder. Phosphenes of a dark room flashing brighter and brighter. Until... I see you now. It's taken me so long. The fog clears. I fix my gaze. I pull the lever. A loud clanking sound. Minutes pass. I slowly wipe my bloodied palms on my pants while I stare at the statue's head. You won't see me anymore. You won't spot me in the passenger seat when I'm about to be dropped off and make your dumb smile. Goodbye. So this is a true form of the scar. It's time to leave. I've made enough of a mess. Like if I would have to give like a very loose interpretation of this so far, well specifically of this like passage, uh it probably has something to do with like the character's sense of like perception or like outsider perception or like perception from the world onto her or onto them. And in particular, like for example, I think this is like Anna maybe dropping the character off in front of their like grandpa's house or whatever, and the statue maybe has like cameras inside of it or something, especially because it said something about like bronze, and for whatever reason I'm thinking about like bronze wiring. I'm probably overthinking it. It might literally not be like that, but there could be like bronze wiring in the statue with like cameras or sensors or something, and like I don't know, whoever's in the house is just like monitoring or whatever is probably like the most obvious guess, but I don't entirely feel like that might be the case as well. I think there's something else to it. I think in general the character just has this feeling that a lot of the world is like has its eyes on them, and it can be a very like just in general a very like uncomfortable feeling probably. And yeah, this is enough. I drive away from the flames into the silent night. I had been sick for a couple days. I don't have a regular job at the moment, so nobody's been out looking for me or anything. I'm fine with being alone for a bit after what happened. I haven't heard from Anna since the other day, but that's to be expected, I think. The weather had been consistently gray and boring, as if trying to dissuade me from thinking there's anything to do outside. It's also been kind of misty in my area as well, but anyway, I've mostly been lying in bed and playing Layla for the Famicom. Layla? What's Layla? I'm gonna make a note of that. Sounds interesting. Famicom Layla. Also, it's weird how like the last screenshot I took of this game was also happened to use like this background specifically, and then now when I'm like popping out from the game again, I'm like, oh, I'm like encountering the same background used earlier, or like earlier I took a screenshot of the text used with this background for whatever reason, and then for some reason now I'm like, oh, there's something I want to note down again, and it just happens to be Layla for the Famicom. Anyway, I don't think that's anything, but whatever. It's quite a dumb game, but it might just be that I'm just not good at it. When I was playing it, I got a message telling me that my father had died. I won't say who told me, but you should know it was a trustworthy source. I didn't really speak to him anymore, but it still felt a little sad. A little inevitable too. I was unsure whether to attend the funeral. I knew Mom probably wouldn't. I should go see her though. I think I've been here for about long enough. So this is the story of my father who, 4 years ago, cut off his own left hand. 3 years ago, cut off his own leg. 2 years ago cut off his own right leg. 1 year ago cut off his own right hand. Last Sunday at midnight cut off his own head. I remember when Anna disappeared at the institute. At that moment, I felt that same sting of terror as when the basement opens. I probably felt the same way as my father did when he died. He probably had the key and couldn't use it. 2 weeks later, I received a package with no sender address on the mail. It contained a printed out note and a small, roughly cylinder-shaped envelope. I feel like this is probably referencing something in a very layered way, probably. Or this entire sequence of events. But anyway. The note said, "Sorry, I lost mine as well. Keep them together so they won't be sad. Hope you could do it." I left the envelope unopened by my nightstand. I will take some time to reply. Then it's probably time to leave this place. Tear ripple. Oh, so this was from roughly 3 years ago. Okay. Sometimes I want to do recordings of videos or games or random things as soon as I see them. But there's another part of me that's I kind of want to not gatekeep, but sort of hold off for a little bit. And I guess in this case, it took me I think I played this game maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago. So I guess it took me two years to revisit this game and actually do a recording and commentary, because a lot of times I do feel a lot of impact from read-along titles like this. It's just I run into this dilemma of whether I should record and upload, because part of me feels yeah, I want to share this read along in this game and have more people connect with it. But another part of me feels like doing a read along specifically in my own voice and publishing it also takes away a little bit from the experience, as opposed to someone encountering the game themselves and then just reading it for themselves or whatever. But I don't know. I think it depends. Maybe I'm overthinking it too. I don't know if it matters that much, but for me personally, I do get a lot of enjoyment from reading things initially on my own, and then maybe I think part of me wants to provide my own miscellaneous dumb thoughts on these things. And even though a lot of it does go over my head, there are still some sections where I just want to speak on it and provide things to say here and there, because I find it's very interesting. And yeah, I think this game in general is one of those things that produces a lot of dialogue, and it addresses it in a very direct way in some sections, especially pertaining to the part they were talking about, urban myths and image board or forum culture and things like that, where, for example, somebody will post mysterious images under a very mysterious username or whatever, and then it'll be it'll tend to, it has this generative component to it, where some people are attracted, or some people attract towards this kind of dynamic, and then they'll maybe flesh out the urban mythos or the creepypasta or whatever you want to call it on their own, and then it'll kind of simultaneously develop, even though there's there's not a direct communication, presumably. So for example, the person posting the images, what was it, 32, I forgot, X32 something, whatever their name was would post the images, and then this main character would, and Anna, or like the other character, would like go around and visit the sites, and then they would play a part in sort of like developing the overall kind of legend or scenario or myth of this kind of thing. And in that way, it is very interesting because, like, I guess it also the story gets into things regarding like causality or whatever. So like the immediate sense of causality like between these two forces is not as immediately apparent, I guess. Like part of me almost feels like the person posting the images could be either like the father or the grandfather figure. They're just kind of like that, and there's like they do like typical weird dad like behavior in that way, not in like a weird way hopefully, but like in that way where they're just like going around an urban environment and taking pictures of like infrastructure and like posting on like some obscure forum or something, and then the main characters maybe like happen to encounter these forums independently or less directly, and then sort of like continue contributing to like the urban legend or like the mythos or like the spirit or the whatever thing is going on here. So that's just like my initial. That's like my like guesses as to like some of the broad themes to this game, or not broad. I mean, they're like so very directly addressed too in some cases, but yeah, there's like a lot to talk about this game that I really enjoy. I mean, in particular, like the first section already regarding like the art venue or the like not the art venue, like the music performance show, and how there was like how the two characters or more characters were like chatting about the like the cultural aspects or whatever of, or the dynamics of that situation or the art movement or whatever. I mean, that to me really exemplifies this sort of like obscure forum sort of like back and forth dynamic between posters from various parts of the world or from wherever. And well, okay, honestly, sometimes it could literally just be like the same person like arguing against themselves on some obscure forum board, and then in that way it can generate a sort of like urban mythos or like mystique or legend kind of thing, and maybe like a somewhat forced way, but the way it's done can also be very artful, I guess. And I think they also mentioned it too, like a lot of these things are just like somebody's weird like art project. I feel like a lot of like creepypastas or like urban legend kind of things that spawn into more widely known things, I feel like often start as somebody's like obscure art project that they just randomly decide to see. It's like a half art project, half science experiment, where like somebody will present ideas or have certain ideas about something in a very like overall like grandiose kind of way, maybe regarding like the metaphysics or the existential themes or nature of things and how they intersect with science and art or whatever. But they obviously can't. It's more difficult to present it in a way that's very direct in a sort of academic setting, I think. So it's also difficult to do like tests too sometimes, because they run into questions of like ethics, for example. Like you wouldn't be able to do this like DIY hand guillotine project to test out your weird like time-space conjecture or whatever in a very like controlled setting or in like a typical academic setting. So a lot of it does have to be DIY. And then like another part of it is like somebody presenting it in the form of like like a sort of like creepypasta urban mythos kind of way that sort of reaches into the area of something like cultural arts or aesthetics maybe. maybe that wasn't the intention, but it sort of like feels like there's like an overlap there happening on a Venn diagram, or there's like a cross section or something there. And yeah, then for some reason, like the artsy type people will like randomly pick up on somebody's like weird science-y kind of observation experiment or whatever, and then maybe they'll like continue to develop it further in a sort of indirect way, and then it could like inform the sciencey sort of aspect of things also and play a part in that. Or it could be the other way around. Like I'm not sure. I think there's just like a lot of things regarding this game that makes okay, so if I were to describe this game in terms of like a basic image, it probably would be like just a bunch of like nodes and then intersecting lines. As like cliche as that might sound, like a lot of nodes and intersecting lines, but also there's like specific sections or points in the lines that have like different patterns. For example, there might be like zigzaggy lines or lines that are a little bit more wavy. I'll just do like a very basic example of my impressions on like the sort of structure or the feeling of this game. I don't want to call it like rhizomatic, because I don't entirely understand what that means to begin with, and I don't think that's entirely accurate either. But it's something like there's just like a bunch of circles or nodes, and then yeah, the like intersecting lines. I just go like, woo. That's kind of interesting. Excuse me. And then there might be some points where there's just like no lines or whatever. And there might be some points where like the lines are very distant from each other or something. But yeah, some of them are like more wavy or more sharp or wavy or sharp, or there could be like swirls, like loops and stuff here and there. So yeah, this is like my very basic diagram of my impression of like the sort of like structural vibe that this game produces, and also like the sort of obvious hopping from topic to topic and point from point. I think most exemplified near sort of the ending of the game, ending point of this game, if considered in a very linear, direct way. That's when the character was sort of like feeling like they were maybe existing in different like time spaces, and also within the perspective of another character, because I think the character probably sort of like in a sense hopped into the perspective of different characters as well at that point. So yeah, I don't know, there's more I can say, but I think I'm probably gonna hold off for a little bit. And yeah, I hope that was enjoyable. I would still say it's probably better for, I think it's more interesting if a person reads it on their own rather than like gets into it, or like rather than somebody reading it for them, like an audiobook kind of thing. Because also I just like, there was a lot of points where I just went off on my own tangent. I felt like I kind of not ruined, but like interrupted the flow and the atmosphere of the game a little bit, and that wasn't like my intention necessarily, but it's just how I'm approaching my kind of style of recording these things for now. So I guess I'll say like, okay, regarding this video, regarding this recording, I'll start the video here with this, what do you call it? With this, I forgot what the word was. Pre-notice? What is the word? What's the word called? It's not a forewarning because that just sounds weirdly ominous. Preface. Yeah, it's called a preface. I completely forgot that that word existed. Like, I I'd encourage I'd encourage somebody to read read something like this first on their own, and then maybe watch other people's read-alongs and thoughts and slash tangents, impressions afterwards. But honestly, maybe it doesn't matter that much. Up to you. I don't know. Up to you. Up to you. So yeah, I'm gonna make that note to put this section at the start of the recording instead, and then start off the recording as normal. But yeah, I hope that was enjoyable for the most part. I might revisit this game and like have more concrete things to say too at some point, but yeah.